Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Dahlia. How are you
So,
this fine time?
oh, fantastic. So, little intro. Everybody should know you, but for those that don't, can you give us a little introduction with the hat and
With
where
the
you're
hat,
at right
thank you.
now?
I feel like I'm bringing 6 gallons of information, so I'm wearing a 6-gallon hat. My name is Jason Allan Scott. I'm an event-entrepreneur, I suppose, someone who's an entrepreneur, got into events, and then went from events to sort of adding to that storyline. What other tech could we use? What other tech could we create? I started a podcast called the Guestless Podcast, and it was about leaving events because I had an autoimmune disease. I still have an autoimmune disease called multiple sclerosis that wouldn't allow me to stay within the events industry doing events because of the stress levels and how my body reacts to cortisol. So I went into podcast. The podcast did incredibly well. It won top 100 small businesses in the UK. I realized there was a blueprint, and I realized that it matched events because there was a pre-story, there was the story of the day itself, and there was a post story that followed, which is exactly what we do in the events world. Since then, we opened a production company in North Carolina. We started a process school based in London, and we consult for businesses, brands, and influencers on how to start a podcast for you. If you have a voice, a vision, a mission, and a message.
And I'm one of your students, so I
Yes,
vouch for
I was about to say, I'm so proud to say Dahlia is one of my students.
Yes, I am. So we're going to talk about your new mission because I think this is essential in regards to understanding where the mice industry is going and how you're helping them out, etc. So therefore, my background is homage to you for what you're doing. So thank you for that. So challenges that you see DMOs and destinations having or facing in the 2020s. What do you see happening right now?
I think the two biggest things we're seeing is fear and legislation. I'm going to start with legislation because probably it's the biggest and it's the one that we have some control of. If the law says you cannot travel and you cannot leave your house, then there's nothing a DMO or destination can do. It's that simple. And I know one of your follow-up questions is what can they do? And I do have a series of things to say, but that's the first thing. What does the law say? And how does that affect my job? And how does that affect my mission? How does that affect what we do? The second is fear. You know, the fear of people getting sick, the fear of, was the sickness created because people travel as much as they do? Because we, instead of having events at home like we used to, or at a nearby hotel or a nearby restaurant or space, we were flying all over the world for our incentives, our conferences, our expos, etc. So to change that fear around is something that's going to take constant, valuable, consistent content. And that's something that I'm working on quite hard with various DMOs and various destinations.
Perfect. And I do see that playing not only with the content bit, but also with persuasive and authentic marketing. So right now, that whole voice as well as the messaging has to take on a very different direction in regards to securing that, level of I'm safe, I'm going to be safe, I'm not going to come back home with, a virus that can help or not help, but like not be something that I want to come home with to my family, to my loved ones, etc. So
it's funny you say that. We went to go see a very large hotel chain, and she said something really astounding, which is exactly what you just said, but she said it in this real cute way. She said, in the old days, I'd come back from a conference and what my kids and family would be excited about is the t-shirt I'd bring home. Now they're scared about the disease I'm bringing home.
Yep.
And I thought, wow, that's absolutely it.
Well, it's not a case of the bed bugs that you would bring back home. It's something a little bit more
a lot scarier.
That
yes.
way. All right. So you name the challenges. Now, what are like 3 ways that they can overcome those challenges or prepare themselves going forward?
I think what they need to do is start by sharing a series of messages. And the message is this: who are we? Why you should visit? Who is visiting? What we've done to keep you safe? And then what are those people saying after they've just done it? Yep. So those constant messages of, hey, we're still here, and this is what we're doing, and this is how we're keeping you safe, and this is who's just here, and then don't trust me, trust them, and have that voice come over and tell you, will change everything. So the power of social proof will come back in very strongly. But instead of social proof in the form of TripAdvisor saying, great location, great destination, great food. It's going to say it was safe. I felt secure. I felt seen. I felt heard. And I think that's another thing. It's very easy in the beginning where people who wore masks and didn't wear masks. And it was this idea of, well, they didn't seem to care and that was fine with me. Or, well, they didn't seem to care, but that really hurt me. But if a venue or destination DMO says, oh, I see you, and I see that you need to know that we're all wearing masks, so we're going to show you we are. And you need to see us cleaning your luggage before arrival, or we're going to show you we are. That's going to make a very big difference. And I think the other thing is work closely with representatives who are policy makers. Work closely with your convention bureaus, work closely with your mayors, work closely with those people whose job it is to support your destination, to support what you're doing. Because I feel like that's what and this is a very controversial opinion, and I can see I'm going to get absolutely lambasted for this. The reason the UK events industry hasn't seen this massive help from the government is because we haven't always been the easiest or the quickest to show this is how much we're doing for the country. These are the actual stats. This is the actual money that's been made, and working closely with the government to keep pushing our industry. We kind of just did our own thing. We were all doing very well for a long period of time. And then all of a sudden we weren't. And we were like, hey, hold on. We've helped you so much in the past. We've brought all this money through tourism and through events. And they've just gone, we've never heard from you. So we didn't even know you were there. So, the American expression, a squeaky wheel gets the oil. That's what needs to happen in our industry.
Well, I mean, there's also a learning curve for your policymakers and your government to really understand, what you need to put in place in order to leapfrog where we're at right now.
Absolutely.
And what do you see then a bigger role of influencer marketing as well as peer-to-peer marketing that will do that storytelling for destinations and DMOs?
I think we'll
now
go
more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll go from influencers to key people of influence. And that's the biggest difference. So instead of being someone in a bikini taking a photograph on another hammock or at a bent palm tree on a beach, it'll be someone like you who says, hey, I've just come from this venue and I can tell you the tech is up to date. I can tell you the process is up to date. It'll be someone like James Morgan coming in and saying, I really love the way they've done process. It's what we teach at the university. So it's not just someone with a big fanship, but it's someone with expertise that's deserving of a certain niche fanship. And that's a key person of influence versus an influencer as we see them today.
And that's a key differentiator, I think, as well. So that's a great point. So how do you see event tech companies helping DMOs and destinations in the 2020s?
I think event tech companies have to go the way of unicorn startups. They have to be 10 times better than their alternative, 10 times faster, or 10 times cheaper. That's it. Uber didn't invent a new car. They invented an easier way to book a cab. Airbnb didn't go up against hotels. They merely showed a different way to get a different experience, firstly, and then a different venue for the same thing you wanted. So maybe we find, a way that's 10 times easier to register for an event. Maybe we find a way for something to be 10 times easier to share something we just did. I've noticed you have the QR code, for example, in our video. What a wonderful way to share something, knowledge, information that's fast, that's quick, that's easy. That's what we need. And I think that's what we need to see. It's that reminder of, is it 10 times cheaper? Is it 10 times easier? Or is it 10 times faster? Because if it's not needed right now. It's just a nice to have, not a need to have.
Well, and thank you for pointing out, like, the Sphinx has a QR code. It's actually a QR code to my LinkedIn profile, which I'm using as an idea for people to steal. So basically, for those that are listening in, if you open your camera and hold it to the QR code, it will automatically connect you to my profile on LinkedIn. And this is something that you should have in regards to anything when you're speaking, especially in the virtual world, so you can connect and expand your tribe. So in regards to, let's get your crystal ball out for a second. Where are you at right now? Tell people where you're at, because you're not in London at the moment.
I'm definitely not in London. No, I'm in Cancun. I'm in Playa del Carmen.
Wow, I'm not jealous one single bit. So yeah, okay.
Honestly, yes, it is. It is gorgeous. It's everything you hoped it to be. It's white sandy beaches, crystal clear waters. I swam with stingrays. I possibly got knocked by a shark. There's an amazing sort of high street, as we call it in the UK, or avenue called Fifth Avenue, just around the corner. Amazing tacos, tequila, beautiful weather.
In that order, T and T, huh? Tacos and tequila. There you go.
It used to mean tan and teeth, but now it's tacos and
Well, you got those too. So it's the 4 T's.
Yes.
So get your crystal ball out and tell us, what is the future of mice looking like for the 2020s?
I see more tools to see more spaces, an easier way to experience the offering, and an easier way to share that offering through tech. Now, whether that starts with something like an Oculus 2, augmented reality, I'm walking through the venue, or like you mentioned earlier, it's an avatar experience where I create an avatar like a game who goes and experiences a venue and tries things and touches things and tests things. But that mixture, getting closer and closer and closer. And I, about 3 or 4 years ago, it was in my crystal ball, it didn't come to be, but I said, we'll have something called augmented entertainment reality. It won't just be a virtual tour like walking through Cairo, Egypt, but I'll be able to get some sort of entertainment with it. Maybe I'll be able to take a photograph with me on the Sphinx, which I can then share with everyone, that then brings you to my experience. I've said this before, I think tech will get closer and closer to giving us an experience that we can touch, feel, and share, versus I was in it, it was great, I don't know how to explain it to you, you have to go do it yourself. But if we can take some of that across, things like taking photographs in a space and sending that out, or recording like we're doing now, that then is sent out and downloaded and shared with multiple people in the easiest format possible.
Well, I'm a big believer, and you mentioned Airbnb, but like, for example, their online experiences where you can actually engage with someone who is, has a GoPro or is taking you through the graffiti streets of Brazil, for example, Sao Paulo. And then you get to experience that secondhand, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But this is where you get creative with the content that's generated. And then how do you amplify that, or how do you share the content and make it interactive and make it viral? I think that's going to be the key for destinations and for even the DMOs going forward. So
absolutely. And I think what hopefully we'll see, and hopefully I'll get a chance to be a part of, is this idea that it doesn't have to be what everyone's doing. I think we get, especially in the events industry, we're order takers first and foremost, or we have been history, where we need to start putting things forward. Instead of someone coming to us and saying, oh, have you heard of this thing called QR code? Has anyone ever done a virtual presentation? Has anyone ever done a hologram? I'm doing a talk with a gentleman called James Taylor for FreshBooks next week, and he sends a hologram to the space to do the talk. He doesn't travel at all anymore. And I just thought, what a brilliant idea. He's bringing this to venues. He's bringing this to companies, as opposed to them going, why don't we have a hologram? And I think I did a talk for Square Mill, a keynote a couple of years back. And I said, some of the smallest things you could do, you could have an expert, let's say someone like you, and you could say, I'm not feeling well right now. I don't want to do this talk, but I've got great information. Well, you could train an actor with a script of all your information that then does it live, because they'll be able to do the presentation as well as you, but they'll have your information. So there's an opportunity. We'll be able to take podcasts and turn them into stories that are also entertaining about destinations, about hotels. Instead of just sharing the USPs and the sort of list of premier room, standard room, king size room, beach facing room, street facing room, it'll be a story of someone that went there. The famous story of the Wynn Hotel, where someone came running at 4 a.m. and our hotel concierge was standing outside of the telling them a bottle of water and said, hey, I just wanted to give this to you. I've noticed you're running every morning. Well, that story has been shared all over the world. That could be on a podcast that people could hear. And there's a great one called Business Wars, which is a phenomenal podcast that just tells you the story of great companies. Well, I'd love to have that for hotels and destinations, telling the stories of why these hotels were created and the people that they support, whether that's the staff members or the patrons that are coming. These are the opportunities that hopefully tech will take us to and allow us to use in the future.
Yeah. So I was a hologram in Seoul, Korea last December.
Oh my gosh.
From LA. So and it was kind of funny because I was actually at Expo in Las Vegas and traveled to LA within 24 hours, was hologrammed into Seoul, Korea, and people still thought I was in Las Vegas. So they got very confused of why I was in Seoul and in Vegas at the same time. Your whole point of the content and the formats of content is spot on, because podcasts, so that's like the auditory, like the audio part of it, versus the visual, which is this, versus the the regular presentation deck type of content. And actually masterclass, if you haven't taken a look at masterclass now has it where you are able to consume the content and interact with the content as you wish. So you can turn it into podcast mode, transcript mode, or you turn it into video mode. And
I love that. Because of you, I joined masterclass. I just did Sarah Blakely's entrepreneurship course.
Of course. So but you should be on it. I told you that you needed to be on it as a teacher. So the way that content is generated, and then the format of it, I think is going to be key. And to your point, us event planners and professionals a lot of time lack that ability of content marketers and so forth. That's one skill set, I think, that, and also the digital marketing part of it, that they would either need to outsource or get someone in their team that can help them do that even better. So any other insights you want to wrap up with, or any type tips or?
Yeah, I think the other insight I have is this. When most companies worldwide were closing down and laying off staff, Wembley Arena got a gigantic Wimbledon champion tennis courts got a gigantic check in the millions. Now, what was the biggest difference? Well, the Wimbledon company knew that at some point something was going to stop them from putting on their global event every year. So they took out insurance. And when we went into pandemic and everyone went, oh no, we weren't expecting this, Wimbledon smiled and said, show me the money. And I think that's what everyone needs to be doing now. Don't only think about how do I get through this period, but what can I do that compounds over time? Because Wimbledon would have been paying that insurance every single month. That just compounded how big that check was going to be when it finally occurred. So what can you do? Now, most times you can use technology. The second thing you can do is network, create a network effect. I know you tell someone else, that person tells another person, that tells them, and that's just how it grows. In all my years, I've paid £20 to advertising and marketing because I focused rather on the people to spread my message. I focused on that network effect. And lastly, I think we all as businesses need to realize that the future generation, when we're having these job interviews, are going to ask us, how did you handle your staff during the pandemic? And really ask yourself, what are we doing now to look after our staff?
That's a great question. Yeah, totally. So Jason, how can people connect with you?
I think the easiest way right now is just go to LinkedIn. I'm Jason Allan Scott. I think I'm the only one in the world. And I answer every single, it does take me a while. There's a lot of people on there now. But I will answer your questions if you've got any question, preferably one question. I'm happy to answer it. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter at Penthouse Lord. Very easy to find.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being there for the industry and for me, because you are a dear friend. So thank you for that. All right.
And can I quickly take a moment before you shut off just to say, Dahlia, thank you for continuing to champion, no matter how bad things are. You connect people, you empower people, you give us a voice, and you keep pushing the mission. So, never stop. Never stop.
Thank you.